Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to the NPC Reviews. It's Ancient Egypt time again! Although this time, instead of ancient mummies protecting today with a lot of King Tut puns, it'll be an ancient princess protecting the future in Cleopatra in space. I mean, who doesn't like ancient Egypt in space?
Come on, be honest. Let's go. Get him up there.
Cleopatra in Space is based on a comic of the same name, created by one Mike Mayhack, and features the teenage Cleopatra the VII. I know Egypt is your many-faced uncles thing, but could you give it a shot at least? As I said, Cleopatra gets taken through time and space to save the future. Let's see how that starts in Cleopatra in Space Episode 1, Wednesday. Our story begins with, you guessed it, Ancient Egypt, a grand vista shot of the pyramids to what is presumably Alexandria. You couldn't wait 5 minutes? Cleopatra is less than gently woken up. But she doesn't let it get her down.
All right, let's get this Wednesday started!
Followed by a montage, showing off her pampered princess lifestyle. She certainly has a joie de vivre down. After her morning routine, Dad shows up.
Isn't that gown a bit much for a Wednesday?
Wednesday's always been a weird day for me.
Got to say, Ptolemy, you look good for inbred. They start talking about work.
Oh, you know, war, famine, plague of locusts, typical workday.
And Cleo gives her motivation.
When I'm queen, it's gonna be awesome! I'm gonna have so much fun, no one telling me what to do!
Which Dad quickly reins in.
I'm sorry, Cleo, but you have to be more responsible. When you're queen, hundreds of thousands of people will be depending on you.
She doesn't take it well, as you might expect, but Dad does manage to cheer her up with a gift from her mom aunt. He then leads her to the studies she's not going to do. She's hanging out with her best friend, Gozy, and lamenting her position and lack of combat training, when she expresses this.
If only I were a regular citizen.
Because then you could marry a regular citizen?
Gotta give it to him. What he lacks in subtlety, he makes up for in commitment. And to exit out of that awkwardness, they practice their sling work. Her better than him, and they accidentally...
You broke the burial ground.
I do not disagree.
Which leads to a door they did not know and opens up on his own. So naturally, Cleo wants to explore. Looking with their eyes and their hands ensues. Eventually, the tablets of plot activate.
Leo?
Shh! The tablet. It's calling to me.
And she gets sucked into a portal. This is not going to end well for Gozy. Anyway, Cleo lands in a different tomb and is quickly caught in the aggro of some passersby. Dodging and outrunning the robots, she discovers she's on another world, which she takes as you might expect.
Okay, I get it. This is a dream.
She gets grabbed, but luckily gets a rescue from the previous runners and follows after. While attempting to escape, she is not understanding things when she gets shot with the universal translator. It helps with the running away, though the robots are still hot in their tail. However, they do make it, and Cleo sees her first spaceship. Despite some hesitation, she makes it onto the ship, but not without one final potshot from the robots. Luckily, Cleo has good reflexes and saves the helmeted runner. Then she takes down the robot, doing Gozy proud. Anyway, with the dangers past, the reality of the situation starts reasserting itself.
Are you some kind of talking statue boy?
I have a synthetic arm, okay? Both arms. Alright, everything except my brain, but I'm still a person!
So insensitive. And then she meets her first alien.
Hi there! I'm Akila.
Perpetrator then blinked 2 sets of eyelids. You mean blinked with both eyes?
No, sir. He blinked one set, then he blinked a completely different set.
You know, like high beams and low beams.
She tries waking up, but it doesn't work. However, there is something of a familiar face there.
This dream could not get weirder.
Let go of me.
Or maybe not. The cat introduces himself as Professor Kensu and asks for her introduction, which they immediately move to verify. That is an impressive database, dang. Anyway, fangirling immediately ensues.
It's true? It's true! The prophecy is true!
Cleo is naturally confused, and Kensu explains further.
And according to the prophecy, you are the savior of the Nile galaxy. The only one who can save us from the tyrant who has destroyed hundreds of worlds and enslaved thousands more. The monster, Octavian.
He seems cute. He said he was into tentacles. How was I supposed to know he was a calamari chef? So they arrive at Pyramid and get ready to see the council. The pressure seems to be squeezing Cleo's bladder a bit, but Kensu continues ahead, and here we meet the Pyramid Council. He presents Cleo, but they are less than thrilled.
I haven't checked the schedule, Kensu. Is it fairy tale time?
Sounds like academia to me, but the bioscans confirm her identity. They are hesitant, though.
And what do you...
I have to pee.
If I had held it for 30,000 years, I'd have to pee too. With that, they realize she is just a child who needs looking after and decide to enroll her at the academy for training and to see what she is capable of while keeping it all under wraps. But Cleo...
I want to go home.
Sad Cleo. And unfortunately, the yarn doesn't help. So they head over to the academy while avoiding a panic attack, by Brian having a sympathetic panic attack instead. Such a good friend. So after discovering indoor plumbing, the odd couple shenanigans begin, and as you might expect, Cleo gravitates towards the weapons. By the end of that, Aquila has to study and Cleo beds down.
I'm glad you're here, Cleopatra. Where can I be best friends?
While she sleeps, an infiltrator bot activates, spots Cleo, and after confirming, begins the attempted murder. The first of many, to be sure. After some ducking and dodging and having some fun, she tries her hand at shooting, but fails her knowledge weaponry check. Luckily, she passes it for a more melee-oriented weapon, after which she finds her groove and gets the upper hand, to which the robot responds,
Initializing plasma cannon.
Well, that's not good.
So with some more deft moves and the use of a knick-knack, Cleo clocks the cannon and kaboom! Now Kensu shows up and is impressed that Cleo beat a previously unbeatable model of bot. Meanwhile, Emperor Octavian receives word of Cleo's existence and daring.
This is going to be even more fun than I had thought.
Back to the ruins of her room, Cleo and Kensu have a heart-to-heart.
And I miss my dad. He'll be so worried about me.
We'll get you back home. The prophecy brought you here. I believe it will also lead you home.
And now falling into the role of cat dad allows for some comfort scritches. Then the episode ends with Aquila returning and Brian having another panic attack with Cleo stating,
Well, this morning I was wishing for adventure. But this is not what I had in mind.
As for characters, Cleo is what you would expect from the adventurous princess archetype. Reckless and impulsive, and wants to travel the world, learn to fight, and not have expectations put on her. And she gets most of that. However, with adventure comes danger and separation, and that is something she has and will have to deal with. With that in mind, she does have an appreciable arc in the first episode. She wants adventure, realizes there's more to it, and comes to realize what she has lost while also dealing with the weight of this prophecy, but resolves to get home and still have some fun while she's at it. But a good start for an adventure show protagonist. Aquila. Is she the daughter of Rob? Because she is a bright ray of sunshine, and you can tell she is a fan. Now, is that part of her more fastidious traits, or a more natural part of her personality? Also, you have to wonder, why is she a fan? Is she a believer in the prophecy, or does she like the historical image of Cleopatra? Seeing how she plays off against Cleo's more pampered, slovenly personality will be interesting to see. Brian is a ball of nerves and the somewhat dour counterpart to Aquila's upbeat bubbliness. While he is mostly there for comedy in this episode, he does seem to be the tech person of the core four, and seeing how his identity issues play out should be interesting. At least Cleo didn't call him a Shabti. Then there is Kensu. He's the stern teacher type, but is also a fan, although a fan in a different way than Aquila. He wants Cleo to save the galaxy, and he lets that distract him from the fact that Cleo, though seeming to have some natural talent when it comes to fighting, is ultimately an untested kid. Luckily, he gets reality checked and realizes Cleo's training and well-being is his responsibility, thus becoming the begrudging cat dad. All of them are noticeably basic in their character, but they are solid with room to grow and enough indicators that they will. On the technical side of things, the animation is good. No major hiccups, and any animation shortcuts remain firmly invisible. This is no surprise, as this is DreamWorks, so long as they don't go the Voltron route later in the series. The voice work is solid, really bringing the characters to life and adding definition to the basic starting points. The music is what you would expect, the Egyptian string and wind instruments with some futuristic rock and more dramatic orchestral when needed. It's all expertly done. The only thing that bugs me is the theme song. It's not bad, mind you. It's a I have the power, take on the world sort of deal, but the thing is, it sounds like a cut down version of a larger song, at least at this transition. The The song is good enough to stick in your head, but I hear that transition and I have an incomplete song poking my brain for hours after the fact. Wouldn't be the first time. As for the setting, it's fun and sets the mind to wonder. How did things end up this way? Sure, Octavian said about ruining things, as villains are wont to do, but where did he come from? And why is everything Egyptian? Is there a pharaoh? What role do the gods play in things? And since we're on time shenanigans, will Cleo go back in time to fulfill history, or will someone who will be known in history as Cleopatra take it on instead? Is this a causal loop, or will a new time spin off into a new timeline? And what about the prophecy?
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
Am I expecting answers to all of these? No, but I am curious as to what answers I can get. Regarding the Egyptianness of the milieu, it's fairly shallow, touching upon different times in the long history of the region as one. But it gets a pass here as the zaniness of the setting allows for that kind of mishmash. You may ask why I give Cleopatra in Space more leeway than Mummies Alive. Well, Mummies Alive was an action kids show that didn't balance the seriousness of its premise with its sense of humor, while on some level still expecting the audience to give respect to the gravitas of said premise and source material. Cleopatra in Space, though, knows what it is, balances things well, and leaves its moments of gravitas to the characters and their circumstances, which it manages successfully. I'm probably overthinking things again. On an additional note, the school setup actually works here. They wanted a savior and got a child. She's untested and they don't know how to get her home, so it makes sense that they would put her in a place where she can learn, acclimate, and keep an eye on her. Also, I was a touch surprised with a bad guy named Octavian, there weren't any space Romans. Additionally, from what they've shown and what I recall of some future episodes, this actually looks like an interesting setting for an RPG. The synthesis of space opera in Egypt sounds fun, and I'm curious as to how they apply various tropes of the genre and facets of ancient Egypt together. Fun times!
You're gonna turn into my dad and start barfing up scarabs.
I first came across Cleopatra in Space when I was at a used bookstore a few years before the show came out, and I didn't give it much mind at the time, but now I wish I had. It's fun. It's not the most groundbreaking, but what it does well, and I want to see what happens and how things expand, and isn't that the goal of a first episode? Ha! Validation. Although, if there are any Egyptians or historians who have read the books or seen the show, please share your thoughts, I'm curious. Anyway, if you're curious or want some space opera fun, give it a watch. And until next time, fare thee well, my lovelies.